Hey everyone, so what might be some of the catalyst that causes Bitcoin to jump out of this range between $55,000 and $70,000 per coin and march higher above 100,000 and beyond? The short take is I don't know, but since I've been through this a few times, I will speculate on what some of those could be. All right, so the first would be, which is by far the most obvious, would be if Donald Trump wins the presidency of the United States. So a lot of people obviously view Donald Trump as much more favorable to cryptocurrency and to Bitcoin than Kamala Harris. And obviously, you know, it's not like Kamala Harris is going to stop Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to be successful regardless. It's just a matter of time and friction. And a Donald Trump presidency would have far less friction with regard to Bitcoin than a Kamala Harris presidency. Kamala Harris does not like Bitcoin because it involves a lack of government control, and her ideology is based on lots of government control of everyone and everything. So she's not a fan of Bitcoin because it's sort of anti or counter to her ethos. So anyway, so the biggest catalyst that could spark a bull run would be a Donald Trump presidential win. So that's number one. Okay, so number two would be the announcement, the numbers, I guess, second most likely would be that BlackRock announces that they are going to include Bitcoin in one of their primary or sort of their main asset allocation for clients. So this would be a huge deal. So BlackRock manages about 10 trillion in assets. And currently, if their customers want Bitcoin, they will sell it to them, and they are running around promoting Bitcoin. But it is it's not part of their standard portfolio. Meaning, if you call BlackRock out of the blue and say, "Hey, I want to, invest $100,000, and y'all just take care of it with me," you're not going to get automatically a 1% allocation to Bitcoin, for example. If BlackRock did put it as part of their standard asset allocation, that would be a huge deal because it would mean the BlackRock was buying a huge quantity of Bitcoin through their BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, IBIT, which obviously is a direct correlation to the price of Bitcoin because every share of that Bitcoin ETF that anyone in the marketplace buys, they have to turn around and buy that exact amount of Bitcoin to back it because it's backed one for one by Bitcoin. So the second catalyst I think that could trigger sort of a huge run in the price of Bitcoin would be BlackRock adding Bitcoin to their standard portfolio that all of their clients get by default, which would involve BlackRock needing to buy many billions, maybe even tens of billions of dollars of Bitcoin to satisfy that the need for the Bitcoin that would be required to hold in their ETF as a result. So that would be the sort of second most logical thing that would result in a huge price rise. The third would be another announcement for nation state adoption. So Switzerland is already holding Bitcoin, not Bitcoin directly. Switzerland is already an investor in MicroStrategy, which is the largest company that has Bitcoin on its balance sheet. They have about $15 billion worth of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. It's effectively an investment vehicle for Bitcoin. And it's run by Michael Saylor, one of the strongest proponents of Bitcoin in the world. So Switzerland is already an indirect investor in Bitcoin, but they have not directly put Bitcoin on their balance sheet the way they could. So if a country like Switzerland, or any country that has their own sovereign currency, decides to buy Bitcoin with that sovereign currency, that would be a huge deal, because obviously if you're printing your own money out of thin air and turning around and using it to buy something scarce like Bitcoin, once one country starts doing that, it tends to trigger a chain reaction. Now, El Salvador already has Bitcoin on their balance sheet, but they have a dollarized economy. So when they buy Bitcoin, they are not using it with fiat currency. They can print out of thin air, which would be a huge deal. It's still a huge deal that that Bitcoin is legal tender in El Salvador, but they are buying that Bitcoin with US dollars that they do not control because their economy is dollarized, meaning the El Salvador economy runs on US dollars rather than their own currency. So when a country that has the ability to print their own currency uses that to buy Bitcoin, that is a big deal, and that has effectively not happened yet. So that would be a huge catalyst if that happens. So that's three: a Donald Trump presidential win, a BlackRock, including Bitcoin in their default standard portfolio that all of their clients get by default, and a nation state adding Bitcoin to their official Treasury Reserve strategy. And my prediction would be the one that would do that would be Switzerland, which would also probably have the biggest impact of any country other than, maybe the other largest currencies would be United States, Japan, European Union, and China. And obviously the European Union's not going to do it because it's controlled by the EU, which is very much not freedom-minded in any conceivable way. But other than that, it could be anything. I mean, oftentimes what it is that triggers a huge run in the price of Bitcoin is, maybe I guess if I had to pick a number 4, it would be a major U.S. corporation such as Apple or Amazon or something like that, putting a substantial amount of Bitcoin on their balance sheet, indicating that it's a Treasury Reserve asset everybody ought to be serious about, instead of just sort of a random side thing on the side. So if I had to pick a number 4, it'd probably be that a large corporation adopted Bitcoin as its primary Treasury Reserve asset, the way MicroStrategy already has. But if it was done by a company with this, that's a lot bigger than MicroStrategy and a lot better known, that would be a huge deal. There's other ones, but those are just a few highlights of probably the top 4 things that might happen that would result in a huge price rise of Bitcoin. But it could be anything, and oftentimes it's something that's just completely unpredictable in advance that results in a huge price increase by any asset. And so there's probably a 50% chance that whatever kicks off the next huge Bitcoin price rise will be unrelated to any of those 4 things. It'll just be something else that could not have been predicted in advance, and that will cascade into a bunch of people buying Bitcoin, and a bunch of people will buy Bitcoin because a bunch of people are buying Bitcoin, and we'll see the next huge price rise. For perhaps a variety of reasons. Maybe it won't even be one specific thing, but those are a few thoughts, and any of those things could happen at any moment. And if they do, exciting times ahead. And if not, we just have to be a little more patient, because we will get to a 6-figure valuation and beyond at some point. It's just a question of when. But the monetary properties of Bitcoin are so strong that it's inevitable we get there. It's just a matter of time. So have a great night, everyone. Thanks.